The Top 10 Causes for the Civil War. Uncle Tom's Cabin was written by Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was absolutely appalled by slavery. The start of her book was caused by her disagreement with the fugitive slave law, in which she was encouraged to write Uncle Tom's Cabin. The book sold millions in the U.S. and in England. Uncle Tom's Cabin earns the number 10 spot because it rallied the North towards abolitionists and delivered national news of slavery, rallying the support for the abolitionists. Number 9 is Bleeding Kansas. Bleeding Kansas was a violent conflict that raged for 7 years. It was caused when the Kansas-Nebraska Act overturned the Missouri Compromise. It valued the ideas of popular sovereignty instead of location of longitude and latitude. Because of this law, free soilers and pro-slavers flooded the state, attempting to take control to gain extra seats in the government. This earned the number 9 spot because of its strained tensions between the South and the North and was one of the most violent confrontations between abolitionists and pro-slavers. The election of 1860 takes spot at number 8. The election of 1860 took place between Lincoln, Breckinridge, Bell, and Douglas. Democrats split. The northern side believes Douglas had the chance to win against the Republicans, and the southern side believes Douglas a traitor due to his support of popular sovereignty. The Southern Democrats nominated Breckinridge. The Republicans saw the Democrats split and took full advantage of the situation. They nominated Abraham Lincoln because he had the potential to carry New Jersey, Illinois, Indiana, and Pennsylvania, in which Abraham Lincoln won the election. This holds spot at number 8 because the South seceded because they believed that Lincoln would abuse his executive power to end slavery in the states, so when fair, they seceded following the new presidency. The Dred Scott decision takes place at number 7. The Dred Scott decision ruled against Dred Scott, saying that he was still a slave even though he had lived in a free state. It also went on to nullify the Missouri Compromise, declaring that slaves were not U.S. citizens. This takes place at number 7 because it enraged the North that the Missouri Compromise, which was held in their favor, was nullified, and it encouraged tougher fugitive slave laws. The Underground Railroad takes its place at number 6. The Underground Railroad was a system of houses and people who would assist slaves for escaping their slaveholders and shelter them in their houses during their journey northward. These houses were called stations, and while the railroad was helped run by whites, it was predominantly ran by blacks. One of the most notable members of the Underground Railroad was Harriet Tubman, who made 19 trips and escorted over 300 slaves to freedom. It takes its place at number 6 because it enraged the South that the North supported an illegal system of escaping slaves and chose not to enforce the fugitive slave laws. Number 5. John Brown. A martyr in the North and an enemy in the South, John Brown attempted to raid the armory in Virginia and start a slave rebellion which only ended up in innocent deaths. John Brown believed the only way to end slavery was through a violent revolt. John Brown takes place at number 5 because the North, viewing him as a martyr, angered the South because the North inadvertently promoted violent means of protest in the South. Number 4. Economic differences between the North and the South. The North did not understand the reason for slavery in the South. The South used slaves to promote agricultural growth and the ability to harvest more crops. The North, deriving every crop they need from the South, did not understand the usefulness of slavery, nor did they realize that they abolished slavery outright as they wanted. It would slow down agricultural production in the South. The South saw slaves as an investment. They saw the production worth within them. They did not see the ethical reasons the North provided, as the South was also absorbed in their cash crop, cotton. This takes place at number 4 because the economic misunderstanding between the North and the South caused major separation between the two. Number 3. Cultural differences between the North and the South. The North and the South had two very different cultures. The North had industry, technology, major cities, and towns. The South had plantations, rural spaces, farms, and small towns. The two were very different and had different ideals that clashed with each other, one of those ideals being slavery. The South saw the usefulness of slaves and saw how they could increase their growth. The South also took care of their slaves, seeing them as an investment. The North saw slavery as barbaric, and things such as Uncle Tom's Cabin caused the North to portray slavery in an even more brutal, barbaric tone. This earns the number 3 spot because the cultural clash caused multiple misunderstandings between the North and the South. The South's desire for less national government and more local clashed with the North's desire for a powerful central government. The two had different ideals that neither could understand the other. Number 2. Unfair taxation. The North and the South relied on each other to produce things. When cotton gained ground in the South, they began selling to cotton mills in England, and the ships would come back with cheap manufactured goods from Europe. Later, the northern factories disliked this idea of the South trading with others, so northern congressmen passed high taxes on imported goods from Europe to encourage Southerners to buy goods from the North. It earns number 2 on the spot because it angered the Southerners that the North was passing unfair taxes onto the South to promote them to buy goods from the North. They saw it as the South should have a say in taxes passed that affected them. Number 1. States' rights. The largest cause of the Civil War was due to states' rights. The southern states were questioning whether or not the federal government had the right to tell whether or not slaves were legal. The North supported a stronger national government and supported abolishing slavery. The South supported letting states decide whether or not slavery was legal by the state's decision. The South saw the federal government ever so encroaching on states' rights. It caused some states to secede because they believed Abraham Lincoln would abuse his executive power to infringe on the states' rights, which then caused the North to question if the southern states had the right to even secede. It earns the number 1 spot on the list because the ultimate cause for the Civil War was whether or not the states had the right to govern themselves, if they wanted slaves or if they could secede. It strained tensions between the North and the South that they had different political ideals, and it caused diffraction in the government as they argued over whether or not it was their right to govern the state's own affairs.